Testing, 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 testing. Testing, testing. Can you hear me? Hi, everyone. Happy Sunday. Can someone confirm to see if you can hear me? Put it in the comments if you can hear me right now. Oh, thank you. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for confirming, Osman. We'll give it a couple minutes. We'll let people join in, and then we'll begin shortly. So hold on tight. Thank you, Framingham. Appreciate you confirming. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Happy Sunday. Where is everyone watching, by the way? Put it in the comments where everyone's based out of. We have a lot to cover. I hope you guys are having a nice Sunday wherever you guys are. All right, so we got Odwin from Florida. We got Tim from New Jersey, from the East Coast. That's great. It's almost evening time over there. Okay, and then Framingham from Massachusetts. So far, East Coasters. That's cool. I appreciate you all joining. We got Katie. Katie, you're so consistent. I really appreciate you joining as always. Thank you. Katie from Maine. All right, well, we'll start in about another minute, so we'll get started shortly. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, well, we can go ahead and get started. And of course, hi, Ben. Thank you for joining. Put it in the comments where you all are watching from. So far, we got, Florida, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Maine. Usually we get, folks from like Germany, different countries as well. So far, no West Coasters yet. Oh, so Ben from the UK. That's great. All right, well, wherever you're watching from, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. First off, just wanted to thank you all for your time. Let's go ahead and get started. Any comments, questions, requests? Feel free to add it in the comments, and I will be, just monitoring the chat to see what questions you may have. But first off, I want to just give you guys, some updates on what I'm seeing right now. So, overall, we're looking at the coin market cap, looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum. So far, Bitcoin over on the weekend, and I was hoping for like not like a gap up or anything like that, but at least showing stability around 110. So far, Sunday, we've gone up from 110 to 111, so that looks promising, as well as ETH as well, holding a base right now at 4,300. We haven't even got to the all-time high of 2021 yet. I mean, a couple weeks back we got close to like 5,000 and it dipped back, but overall looking good. Holding that support level at around mid 4,000s. Definitely some upside as we head through the rest of September. We generally view September as a volatile month. We will see. We're still early in the phase of September, but you never know. Things don't always go the way that history repeats. We may very well have September be a solid positive month. So it's only a matter of time to tell. But even if it does go down, if you have any powder, definitely feel free to sprinkle in, and I'll share with you what those stocks would be or what those type would be. Overall, wanted to just first start off with the Bitcoin rainbow chart. Where we currently are right now is we're in that green zone. It's accumulate, it's still cheap. We haven't even broken out into the yellow hodl phase, orange phase, where we got FOMO, starting to like become more of a realization. FOMO intensifies, and then we start getting into the sell maximum bubble territory. When you look at every vertical line, you see every halving event take place, and what happens? You see a Bitcoin run up, Bitcoin run up, Bitcoin run up. So far, since April of last year, RSI for Bitcoin hasn't even broken out yet. So we definitely still have room, and I really do think that it's looking like the gap between the last historical run with that long duration before we started seeing the relative strength kick into gears, where Bitcoin started getting into that orange bright red color. So key takeaway, we're still early right now. I do think Bitcoin's going to break out. Q4 most definitely. That's what we all are anticipating for Bitcoin price to go. Let's take a look at this post. Crypto fella, he's posting patience is key over here. We will see another rally soon. So, what are we seeing just with ETH right now? The bigger the base, the consolidation, the bigger the squeeze, in my opinion. It's only a matter of time where we're going to have that next step. Right now, there's so many financial institutions buying ETH, buying, Bitcoin. In fact, Wells Fargo just bought in a boatload of Bitcoin ETF as well. So they're embracing Bitcoin, crypto, digital assets. You look around the entire you know uh, institution. You look at Trump. Trump has DJT. We'll be covering that as well. They bought up 15,000 bitcoins on their balance sheet, officially a Bitcoin treasury company. They now will soon own 20% of Kronos as well, token CRO, and eventually they're going to be announcing a crypto ETF that's going to be under DJT stocks. So be on the lookout for that, as well as American Bitcoin. So ticker ABTC. You don't want to miss out on that. Trump brothers are involved with that coin and definitely has some huge upside as well. We'll cover that. Well, Insider posts, we have $10 billion Bitcoin short position. So let's say Bitcoin, starts gapping up another 6,000 to 117,000. You got, $10 billion of short positions being liquidated. So, I definitely do think that Bitcoin, ETH, they're just consolidating right now. And who knows, we may very well have a big candle, and then all of a sudden, market maker sends the price up, and these short positions all get liquidated. So it'll be interesting to see how things play. All right, welcome everyone. For those of you who just joined, put it in the comments, any questions you may have, requests. So Michael Saylor, so he posts today, needs more orange. So strategy tracker, you see since the beginning of time, 2020, this is a matter of Bitcoin is below 10,000. He's buying left and right. So the last 5 years, he's been, buying Bitcoin, and now, just working towards getting up to like 650,000 and eventually 700,000. So it'll be interesting to see how MSTR plays out. Obviously, we know Friday, Robinhood got added to S&P 500. MSTR didn't get added to S&P 500. I think it's just all because of Coinbase getting added. Does the committee want to take a risk on a you know treasury company at this point. So all of those come into play. I think once Bitcoin starts breaking out above 150,000 come December, then Saylor's going to look like the king at that point. Welcome everyone, the Detail Buff. Thanks for joining. We'll cover that as well with Mara. All right, so let's go. Move forward. All right, so Tom Lee, he is, the CEO of Bitmine Immersion Technology. He reforwarded a post from ARK Invest. So what had happened last week? Last week was a buy the dip opportunity. When you look at BMNR, I mean, the stock has been, it had a slight run up to $70, and then it started bleeding out. Start of September has been very painful for the treasury companies, Bitcoin Treasury, Ethereum Treasury. Well, what has happened since? When you look across the three different ETFs, Kathy Woods, she's been buying BMNR. She's been loading up. So now they have like close to about $260 million invested into BMNR. So very bullish. I believe in the use case. Kathy believes in the use case as well. And eventually, BMNR is going to be like the next, MSTR type of companies. Currently, they're viewed as the MSTR of Ethereum. So it's only a matter of time when BMNR will start, having a reversal. And long term, I definitely do see BMNR as a triple-digit stock. All right, so just looking at the comments here, John, thanks for joining, John. We'll definitely be covering Open as well. If you're a part of the Open Army, put it in the comments. Put a 1 if you are. That'll be interesting. We got Ben expecting a daily cycle low on S&P this week, anytime from the 10th. What do you plan to do to navigate this week for stocks and crypto with the potential dip coming? So we will see. There's no way to tell whether it's going to dip or not. I think Tom Lee is bullish that we're going to see, upside. So let me know what your thoughts are. SharpLink. So as we highlighted in the past, we can confirm that we have never utilized the ATM while trading below NAV. It would be, of course, dilutive to do this on an ETH per share basis. We will continue to act in the best interest of our shareholders. So transparency is definitely key. We have, the co-founder of Ethereum, Joe Lubin, and we also have Joseph Chalem, who is the co-leader as well, who came from BlackRock, establishing ETHA ETF fund. We've seen how big that ETF has got for BlackRock. So I think bridging those two knowledge together, experience, is really going to make SharpLink a strong company. Even though on the technicals price point, we're seeing a huge push down with the stock price, but that correlates with all treasuries right now. Stevio. So Stevio, let's take a look at his post. Definitely one of the Open Army lead general is who I call him. Look at what he's done. He went all in. His current price point. He's a Open Army conviction believer. So am I as well. But congratulations to him. He put in like 400,000 invested into Open at $2, and you look at his return now. So he's gained close to about 700,000 on return. So a less than 400K investment, over 216%. Really good. So congratulations to 8-Bit Stevio on his conviction, lead army general for Open Army. All right. So JG Lee joining as well. Thank you for joining. So the Detail Buff Mara Army. Yeah, I had some weeklies on Mara last week. I got burned with that. I played weeklies on Mara thinking that it was going to go up. In fact, there was a point where I was up, but I didn't sell when it had that green candle. I think it was like Wednesday, but I thought it was going to go up more, and all of a sudden it tanked. So that was painful seeing Mara just continue to dip from Wednesday through Friday. All right, so we got more folks joining. Thank you. Welcome everyone. So if you're part of the open army, press one. If not, press two. Um, Definitely, I'm also, invested in open as well. Not a super big position, but I do have some shares of open. I had some options on open. It's done quite well for me as well. So, definitely in favor of open in the use case as to what Eric Jackson is doing. All right, so let's continue forward. So I'm going to go over some technical analysis. Any chart requests you'd like, put in the comments. I'm doing this for the goodwill of all of us here. So let's say if you really believe in the use case, if you want to follow some of the plays that I'm doing, I'm going to be going through all that. I want to help you all. Uh, and if we want to win together, let's do it. Let's do it. So then I got MSTR chart pulled up. I actually, bought in big as well into MSTR. I'll show you why. All right, let's take a look. Bitcoin. So it's always good to look at Bitcoin. It's the baseline for everything, right? So what are we seeing? I got the RSIM divergence zone. What is this telling us on the daily? We're seeing connectors for potential bullish activity for Bitcoin coming. So we got some support resistance line drawn on the swing level technicals. So 112, let's see if we can break through that. Prior resistance drawn 124. So as soon as we break into that 112, I think we may very well start getting back above 112 this upcoming week. Bitcoin is obviously building a case here, so it's been jarring down over the last several weeks since August 14, but I think now we're creating that use case with the base since September, and this is looking very good. I mean, at one point, close to end of August, we thought it was just going to continue to drag down. I think this is looking much better than where we are about a week ago. So Bitcoin's looking strong, and we're seeing RSIM showing bullish signals right now. So I think this is going to look very good as we head through the rest of Q3 and Q4. I'm putting it out there that I think Bitcoin is going to be somewhere around 170,000 by end of the year. I'm going to follow Eric Trump's forecast. He has it at 175,000. I mean, Tom Lee even said 180, 250,000. We will see. It's not over until we get towards 2025. All right. So Chris, we will be covering BMNR as well, all of that. So definitely, I'll be covering BMNR, MSTR. But let's be patient. We'll go through all that, okay? And it's going to be important for you to see ETH's baseline before we look at BMNR. All right, so let's look at ETH. So I got ETH on the 30-minute candles. Obviously, we saw that that run up with ETH September 5th, not too long ago. We had that buy signal, and then all of a sudden they had that dip. Now, I also have the CM Williams VIX technical indicators. I like having that turned on because it tells me when we will see buy the dip signals. Like basically, it's telling you buy when there's blood on the streets. So even though this is on the 30-minute candle, just with September 7th, we just saw the CM Williams VIX turn on. So it's saying that ETH is a buy the dip opportunity at around this range, along with the alpha trends signaling that as well. So coupling the alpha trends with the CM Williams VIX, I think ETH, because it's showing that signal, we may very well have Ethereum start breaking out into like 4,400, 4,500, and who knows, we might start just gapping up. So that's where we are with ETH. All right, let's take a look at MSTR. So I'm bullish on MSTR, even though they didn't get into the S&P 500. I think where we are right now, in fact, it might be even better for them not to be diluted in the S&P 500, where we should keep MSTR unique in that, once you bring them into S&P 500, technically everyone owns it. So what's so unique about, strategy in Bitcoin, right? So, they're like one of the biggest Bitcoin treasury companies out there. But why do I like MSTR? We're looking at MSTR on the weekly candle, and what are we noticing when you look at the wicks? Okay, the CM Williams. Okay, so obviously around March, April, we saw green indicators, which tell us, it's buy the dip opportunity, right? You see February, March timeframe, we see three lines in green right here, and then in April, there's one line, telling us buy the dip signal. Obviously, that was like around the range when like MSTR took a big dip going down to like 220, super low. Definitely a great buying opportunity as well. So that was screaming, buy the dip opportunity. And we had a nice run up, from 220 all the way up to like 450. I mean, that's a big move. And since April to September, we've had 4 months where the buy the dip signal never turned on. And it was until just recently September weekly candle is flagging us, saying that this is buy the dip when there's blood on the street signal. I bought in, and I'm bullish on MSTR. I think there's going to be a nice use case to see MSTR having a nice run up. So that's something that people should be paying attention to when it comes to technical indicators. Uh, Again, we might see some volatility heading into the week because MSTR didn't get added to S&P 500, but overall, this is all going to be driven from price of Bitcoin. If it surges, MSTR is going to have that multiplier kick in. Here's another view of MSTR. So, I definitely do think because prior resistance was around 457, you know, uh, where we are 335, I don't think we're going to get to that support of 231. I think that's too low. I think, we're going to have I think we're at that support base now, and RSIM divergence, we're going to have it reverse. Bitcoin's been just consolidating, and typically we're getting towards that late phase for a Bitcoin bull run. And I think Bitcoin's going to have a nice reversal, and strategy is going to start following through as well. So be on the lookout. MSTR, capitulation is happening right now. People are like losing interest. People are fearful, but buy when there's fear on the streets. All right. So next up, let's talk about Open Door. So I know John Daly, this might resonate with you because you're a holder like myself, but let's just look at, what the technicals are telling us right now. So the swing resistance line, it's telling us, okay, so at one point back in August, the price tested 590, and it couldn't break through $6 back in August. It tested 590, then it started consolidating at around that $4 support level. Then it U-shaped, and then it started, breaking through. And then Friday we got up to like 665. Now the question is, what's going to play out next week? Can it run up even further? So it'll be interesting to see how things run. I think come mid-September, we're going to start seeing Open Door get into the $10 to $12. Once Open gets to the $10 to $12, we may very well see it start consolidating back to $8, build a support there before it starts gapping up. It'll be interesting to see. So I think one of the important things that the bulls have to keep in mind is come tomorrow, depending on how the price behaves, it may go up like 8% in the morning, and it may just start, getting a reversal. It'll be interesting to see whether support can hold at 560. If it can, great. It will continue to go up. If not, it may take a slight pullback and then just hover around the $5 support. 550 before that next leg up. But I think right now there's the short squeeze momentum is gaining traction in open door. I think as we head into mid-September, we may very well break out into like $9 to $12. So looking very bullish with this company. And Anthony Pompliano bought in. I mean, angel investor who bought in before, are buying open again. They're changing the leadership. Eric Jackson's been marketing. He's putting in so much effort right now. And we even have like Forbes magazines writing about Open Door, Wall Street Journal. So it's getting big globally right now, and it could really transform the real estate sector. I mean, here's another view of Open Door Technologies using Ultra MACD alpha trend indicators. So when in doubt, just zoom out. When in doubt, when you think that, oh, it's going to have a pullback, yes, it can have a small little pullback, but just look, zoomed out perspective. What is this showing? I mean, back in 2021, this was a $40 stock. And we see the slight uptick. Yes, it would have been better if you bought in like, much lower. But right now, it's still in the single digits. When you look at Carvana, they were like a $36 stock. And where are they now? Close to $400. So, I mean, just looking at this Ultra MACD bullish divergence, it might just be the beginning of something big here. So, we've seen what GameStop had done, AMC had done. Some people are saying, "Oh, this is a meme stock," but it's really a big cult of people. Financial institutions, Goldman Sachs, are buying in. So definitely be on the lookout for Open Door to make a big move. All right, let's shift over now. I want to just cover BMNR. So I'm very bullish with BMNR. In fact, I was, making, some videos that are around the time when BMNR was just like hovering around the support of like 29, 28, recommending that's definitely a good buying opportunity. It even had a bull signal at that point. And then what happened? 29 all the way to 70. Since then, since August 13th, close to about a month, it's been pulling back. Even though it's been pulling back, dollar cost averaging, I've been doing that. I believe in the use case long term. BMNR, they're going to be the biggest e-treasury company out there. We've heard from Tom Lee that Ethereum's going to like 60,000 when you scale out. So, the fact that BMNR has close to like 2 million tokens of ETH, that tells you something. They're a big time giant. And eventually they're going to, catch up in terms of share price to like triple digits, so definitely be on the lookout. Their prior resistance $71. I don't think it's going to hit the support of 30 because it's already proven itself that it jumped up to 160 from the July timeframe, and then going from basement low $30 to 70. It's going to settle somewhere around this range 40 as a new support before it starts making a run up for BMNR. Thank you, JG. I appreciate that. Yeah, so just buying at 30. I took some profits, when it went up to like 70. I did hold on to some as well. So I did, continue to hold on to BMNR with the focus of dollar cost averaging down. Just the goal is to just build on the amount of shares possible for BMNR, because I believe that, overall long term, this is definitely going to be icing on the cake. All right, here's another view, giving you a contrarian view of where BMNR is. So one of the things to keep in mind is current price is hovering below the Ichimoku cloud. So we definitely need to see price, break above that. Right now, the bears are in control. I think one of the main catalysts would be whether BMNR, does like an announcement whether they're going to be staking a portion of their reserve, or let's say Ethereum starts breaking out to like 4,500. We could very well just see it running to like $50. One of the most popular stocks out there right now with BMNR. So, any catalyst can really shoot the price up. So I definitely do think that there's huge upside with Tom Lee running the show. All right, so let's talk about SBET. So SBET. All right, so let's take a look. So SBET, you know, what are we seeing? We continue to see SBET, taking a pullback. Yeah, I've been bought at higher price points, and it sucks seeing it go down. But you know what? While it continues to go down, I will buy into the fear, buy when there's blood. I don't think, SharpLink's going to be going anywhere. They're not going to go bankrupt or anything like that. Yes, it may, go down slightly further, but you know what? You can only suppress a stock for so long. The better thing to do is to buy when there's blood on the street, because when something drops down very quickly, it has potential to run back up. So what I do know is, prior resistance, it reached $28. Before that, $40, and then you scale even further, $125. So because it's reached over triple digits, because it just recently reached $40 and $28, there's potential for a major short squeeze when market makers, just take advantage, taking advantage of people who have stop losses, and then eventually goes in reverse and tries to make money on the opposite direction. Um, SBET, I'm bullish. I've been taking advantage while others are fearful, and eventually we're going to see it start having green candles coming. All right, so let's move on. So here's another stock I want to put on your radar, DJT. DJT definitely showing RSIM bull signals turning on. Prior resistance $20 back in July. Back in May, this was $27. You scale out to October time for $54, and then January this was like $43. So where it currently is right now, $15. I think a big short squeeze can come. I mean, they hold 15,000 bitcoins. They're going to own 20% of Kronos token, working with Crypto.com, and there's updates that they're going to be announcing their crypto ETF, holding on to like Ethereum, Bitcoin in the next couple of weeks. This ticker can just go vertically with DJT. So, I think it's been suppressed for so long where we may very well see DJT stock start running up. All right, here's an interesting stock I want to share with you. I do have some call options as well on Robinhood, with the anticipation that they're going to get into the S&P 500. So we had some huge volatility on Friday where it dropped like 5%. Towards the end of the day, it dropped by 1%, so it had a nice climb. I think people were buying up the dip there. But what are we seeing? I mean, we're seeing previous resistance on the near term at 118 back in early August timeframe. So it's been consolidating. It'll be interesting to see how Robinhood performs in the next couple hours overnight trading pre-market. I think it's going to have a nice run up. We saw Coinbase go up like over 20% the day when it was announced that they're going to get into the S&P 500. So I think as we open uh, into the stock market tomorrow, we may very well have it break back into like $117 by tomorrow. And come end of the week next week, we may very well even have it get to like 125 plus on a moderate level scale. So definitely be on the lookout. Robinhood, congratulations. They've made it big. They're on S&P 500 now. All right, next up, Riot platform. So I'm very bullish on Riot as well. So I think that not a lot of people are talking about Riot platforms. I'm like one of the few channels that's bullish on Riot. I think one of the reasons why I'm bullish on Riot is just look at this long-term like consolidation. I mean, since 2023, it's been getting rejected, you know, for many months, and it's been hovering in this continuation bull flag, for many years now. So one of the interesting things is we're seeing it, climb up slowly but surely. Back in July when they announced their earnings report, it had a pullback there. But I think what we're seeing is, just a prime, cup and handle formation being played out here. And let's say if we break through 1550, I think this thing is going to be off to the races where we get to like 18 to 22, and who knows, we may blast off to levels that we won't even expect, like what we saw with every halving event. Last halving event went from $3 to $80. Again, different time frame now, but you never know. Let's take a look at Mara. So, I got burned on weekly calls with Mara last week. I think when you look at upside, Mara has so much potential. I mean, look at this thing. I mean, back in, what was it, July, $21. You go back to November, I mean, this thing was like over $30. Yes, granted, during the tariff updates, it went like, to like 950. That gave you the buy signal there, even at $13. I mean, from $13 to $14, I mean, it's only $1 difference with the potential for it to shoot up. I think Mara is just awaiting to break out. It's like a dormant volcano that's just going to erupt very soon. I think this resistance line that we're seeing on the technicals, we may very well reach that in the coming possibly, whether it's this month or October. Once Bitcoin starts running, I think Mara has a real opportunity to break out. I mean, they have 52,000 Bitcoins on their balance sheet right behind MSTR. So once Bitcoin starts running, these uh, big three Bitcoin miners are gonna have a nice run up. So I think a lot of people are fearful right now, but that's when you take advantage. All right, let's take a look at CleanSpark as well. So I'm a holder of CleanSpark. I like the direction they're headed. They have Matthew Schultz leading the team now. They're making some positive changes. They understand pivoting to AI is essential, and they were able to mine consistent amount of Bitcoin at around a 700 range. That's very bullish. That just shows that they're a strong miner with their fundamentals. Yes, we see iron doing so well right now, like getting close to $30. But I think what we're seeing with Riot, Mara, CleanSpark lagging behind all of the, other miners like Iron, Cypher. I think the laggards are going to be the outperformers through the rest of 2025. I think Iron, Cypher, might have a pullback because they've done so well, like 600% since the drawdown. So like iron going from $5 close to $30, while the big three miners, they have a big Bitcoin hodl. But why is it that their price isn't going up? Things go in ebbs and flows, and I think the big three hodlers are going to have a nice field day where they will start being favorable stocks. Hi, Sharon. Thank you for joining. Yeah, I do see like your comments and all that, but I really appreciate you joining. Bitcoin August 14, 123,000 CLSK. I understand your pain there, Katie. Just hold on tight. Hold on tight. All right. So I know Sharon, you're big time BMNR. Um, we did cover BMNR, but just quickly giving you an overview um, with BMNR. Just where we are right now, we're hovering below the Ichimoku cloud, dollar cost average where you can. We had that prior support around 30, ran up, it showed strength up to 70, where we are now 42. One of the driving catalysts would be ETH. I think we're just going to start seeing more money going in. Follow the money. I trust in Kathy Wood. She's not always right, but she's doing something right. Putting the money into like crypto and AI space, along with SharpLink. SBET. buy when there's blood on the streets. I've been taking advantage of the dollar cost average. I think things will start reversing, so I'm not too worried about that. All right, so GameStop. As far as GameStop, I haven't been following so much with GameStop. I actually bought into GameStop a couple months back, but I pulled out. I just didn't like that they weren't buying enough Bitcoin. Um, all right, so any other uh, questions that you may have? Going through the all right, so we have about another hour until the markets open. Let's take a look at where crypto is right now. So, oh, we're looking pretty bullish. I mean, just looking at Bitcoin, 111,000. Fear and greed. I mean, it's interesting because like Bitcoin's over 110,000, but everyone is like in the fear mode right now. So, ETH, going to like 4,900, pulling back. People got afraid. 7% difference, 3%. So shorts took advantage of that, which is why treasury companies haven't been doing so well. But I think things are going to, look favorable. I think all the short positions are getting kind of worried, meaning like, can you know, Ethereum remain this low? I don't think so. I think it's going to start squeezing soon, along with Bitcoin. We're getting close towards the end of the year. I mean, I think Bitcoin's going to have a nice run up. We covered the rainbow chart as well. So every halving event has RSI breaking out to like 80, 90 plus. Look at where we are. We had that halving event. So come October, November is a time when we typically expect, Ethereum to Bitcoin to start, gapping up. But who knows? Things are different now. Macro changes, so whether it's going to extend into 2026, the cycle, that may be the case. I don't have a magic 8 ball. I don't know what the case is, but I will remain bullish in that Bitcoin will have that that vertical movement up. Um, that's just the nature of every halving event. Bitcoin gets more and more difficult to mine. And for those reasons, the compensatory mechanism works in favor of the design where price of Bitcoin goes up. All right. So any questions, comments from anyone? Um, if not, I know we usually go over an hour. I'm a little uh, tired now. But I just wanted to thank you all for joining in, listening in, and also engaging, providing updates. I hope this was helpful to you all. I appreciate you all joining. What's up with Game? Yeah, so Game I wouldn't worry so much, especially when you're trading into like those small cap companies. It's definitely a big lotto play. Expect huge volatility, but once ETH starts breaking out, I think you will see like altcoin type of performance with like gain. That also goes with like other treasury companies like ETHZilla, ETHZ. I think BTBT Bit Digital is another stock that has huge upside as well, so be on the lookout for them. Um, but yeah, thank you all. I appreciate everyone. Um, Thank you, Mark. Yeah, and if yeah, I released a video today, and I had a BMNR video yesterday, so take a look at that. But thank you, everyone. Let's win this upcoming week. We'll do this again next Sunday. Appreciate all your time. Take care.